Yeah, it's been a pretty difficult year the last year, so prices have been falling pretty steadily. There was a kind of a period of stability through the middle part of last year, but other than that, prices have been falling pretty much for the last 2 years, really. Been helped a little bit by the fact that feed prices have also been relatively low, which has helped maintain margins at a level that's kind of acceptable for most producers. But still undoubtedly tough times, and prices come down by about a third in the last couple of years. I think that things are certainly still tough at the moment. The early part of this year, prices fell quite sharply, but I think there are some signs that things are likely to get better. The exchange rate, for example, that's improved. So the pound has weakened against the euro compared to last year. That'll help our competitiveness, both against the sort of imported European product on our own market, but also on the export markets. On top of that, the European market seems to have kind of stabilised. It's at a very low level, but it's stabilised a bit, and we're starting to see a bit of a pickup in consumer demand as well, which has been a bit of a concern over the last year. Well, it's been a bit of a perfect storm of issues. There's been increasing production here domestically, which has been a trend that's been apparent over a number of years, and that's going to continue. Relatively subdued consumer demand as well, particularly for fresh pork over the last year, 18 months. Then on top of that, you've got a European market which is also oversupplied. The Russians' ban on imports of EU pork has contributed to that, along with again subdued consumer demand on the continent. Obviously the Eurozone crisis and things like that have had a big impact, and then the exchange rate has also been an influence in terms of our competitiveness relative to Europe, which meant that our prices, pig prices, have been quite a bit higher than the European ones, and that's sort of pulled in some extra imports and created extra competition for our products at home, but also made it much more difficult for us to export as well. I mean, Russia was the EU's biggest export market before the ban came into place, and actually though Europeans have been quite successful at diversifying their exports, and particularly China has been a very strong market for them over the last year. Nevertheless, the loss of your biggest market is bound to have an effect, and in particular on some of the byproducts that the Russians used to take in quite large volumes. So pig fat, for example, and lard, they were the big buyers of that from Europe, and nobody else really is buying it in any kind of quantity. So that's just taken some value out of what can be achieved for the carcass, and obviously that then has a knock-on effect on the amount that gets paid for pigs as well. One of the things from a domestic perspective, as I mentioned, kind of consumer demand has been struggling, but part of that's because people are looking for a different kind of product. They're looking for more sort of convenient products, easy and quick to cook, and pork doesn't necessarily tick those boxes. So I think looking for developing new products that appeal to, if you like, the modern consumer, that's certainly something that can help and can drive that demand side. But then opening up and looking for export markets that give an alternative outlet and provide extra value to the carcass as well. So China's been doing particularly well at the moment, and that looks like that's going to continue to be the case for a while to come, but probably won't last forever, and actually trying to find other markets that can deliver that value as well will be very helpful. So that's partly the industry working alongside government to try and open up those markets and identify those opportunities.